Okay, students. So, I'm going to do this simple activity where we will be observing some objects that are attracted by magnets and some objects that are not attracted by magnets. So, I'm sure you're familiar with a bar magnet. You can see here, it has two colors to denote the two poles. Normally, red color indicates the north pole and the blue color indicates the south pole. It doesn't matter which end we hold, but there are some objects that get attracted to the magnet and there are other objects that do not get attracted to the magnet. So, first I have a plastic cap here. We will see whether this gets attracted to the magnet. No, it does not get attracted to the magnet. So, I will put it into this petri dish. Then I have an iron nail here. We will see whether this gets attracted. So, here of course you can see an iron nail gets attracted to magnet. So, an object that is attracted to magnet. Then a rubber, piece of rubber. So, we will see that does not get attracted to magnet. So, then I have again a button, a plastic button that also does not get attracted to magnets. Then a matchstick. Again, matchstick does not get attracted to a magnet. Then we have some pieces of paper. Pieces of paper, they also do not get attracted to magnet. Then I have some paper clips. A few paper clips, they get attracted to the magnet. So, paper clips are attracted to magnet. Then, rubber bands. Now, rubber bands, again, rubber material does not get attracted to a magnet. Then, I have a safety pin. A safety pin gets attracted to magnet. Here I have some board pins. You are familiar with board pins. Now, board pins also get attracted to magnet. Then I have some head pins. Now, head pins, they also get attracted to magnet. The head pins get attracted to magnet. Now, in this dish, I have some more paper clips, safety pins and board pins, but I have already tried those out. So, now I have separated out all the objects. Here you can see the objects that are not attracted to magnets. Rubber piece, rubber band, so both are made up of rubber. Then there is paper, then there is plastic, the pen cap as well as the button, they are made up of plastic. And matchstick again with wood and the part that gets undergoes combustion. So, this is again a matchstick that is also made up of wood or plastic. So, none of these get attracted to magnets. Normally paper, cloth, plastic, rubber, all those wood, they do not get attracted to magnets. But here, in this petri dish, you can see all these materials. This is an iron nail and you all know even safety pins, paper clips and board pins, they are all made up of either iron or steel. Depending on the quality, normally it will be either iron or steel. So, materials that are made up of iron or steel, again you all know steel is an alloy of iron, so that also has iron in it. In addition to that, the metal nickel. So, iron, steel, nickel, those are the materials that get attracted to magnets. So, any material that is made up of either iron, steel or nickel gets attracted to magnets. So, you all have to remember that, students. Okay, students. So, now I am going to do this activity in order to investigate the magnetic field near a bar magnet. So, you are familiar with the bar magnet. You have used this before. So, that is a bar magnet. And to do the activity, I have some other objects with which we will be comparing the magnetic field. So this is a piece of glass. Here I have used a glass slide, a piece of plastic, a piece of brass, a iron nail, and we have a compass here. So this is what we will be using. I will place the compass here and let the point of the compass or the compass needle to settle down, and then one by one I will hold the different objects near the compass. You will have to observe what happens to the indicator, whether it moves or not. So from that we can understand, we can investigate the magnetic field around a bar magnet. So first I will use an iron nail. If we hold the iron nail close to the compass, there is no change in the pointer. The compass remains as it is. Then I have a piece of brass. If we hold the piece of brass also around it, there is no change in the compass. Then a piece of plastic. Do you see any change? There is no change in the point of the compass. Then a piece of glass. Here you can see there's no change in the pointer. It is still in the same position. No change. Now finally, I have a piece of the bar magnet. As I bring it close itself, you can see the pointer moving. The compass changes. The pointer changes as we bring the magnet close to it. So why does this happen? Now normally the point of the compass changes due to a magnetic field. So when I bring a magnet near the compass, it rotates. That means there is a magnetic field around the bar magnet. So that is the conclusion we can get from this activity. There is a magnetic field around the bar magnet. That is why the point of the compass rotates when we bring a bar magnet close to it. Okay, students. So now I am going to do this activity in order to observe the magnetic field of two different types of magnets. So I will be using a bar magnet, a U magnet, and also a compass to observe the magnetic field. And what we will be doing is, I will first place the bar magnet on this white paper. Then using the compass, we will observe the direction of the pointer that directs to the magnetic field, and then we will draw the magnetic field line. So here I have placed the magnet. Just an outline of the magnet, and that's the north, that's the south. So then if we hold the magnetic, now compass, you can see when I move it above the magnet, you can see the pointer deflecting. So first what I will do is, I will place it here. So here if you see, we will have to let the pointer to settle down. Can you see there? Now this is south, north, and the pointer, the red color, points to the north. So there you can see the direction of the magnetic field is in this direction. So if I move it here, if I mark it with an arrow, it is going to be in this direction. Let's say now if I move it somewhere here. Now observe what happens. Now can you see what happens to the magnetic field? It has turned at an angle. So here it is going to be in this direction. When I move it somewhere to this point, here you can see the magnetic field turning like that. So if we bring it to this point, so here we had the first line, then here we had the second arrow. So until this settles down. Now in this you can see the pointer moves in this direction. It points to this direction. The red color arrow, it's towards this direction. Then when I bring it somewhere here, now can you see the pointer? It is pointing towards this direction. If I bring it to this point along with the pointer, now again you can see north is pointed towards the south pole of the magnet. So it's towards this direction. So this is one side how the magnetic field is. The same way we can have the compass here. If I let it to settle down, here you can see it is going to be in this direction. You can see the pointer. Then if I move it to somewhere here, so at this point it will be towards this direction. And then if I bring it to this point, now here you can see again the arrow points towards this direction. So now if we connect all these lines, here you can see it goes this way. So here if we connect the lines, they get connected in this manner. So at the two ends, if we have the magnets, the two ends, the magnetic field is more concentrated, and from north you can see the field line pointing outwards, and from north to south you can see on either side the field line moving from north to south. This side also from north to south, and here again there are magnetic field lines facing towards the south. That is how it happens. Now just to confirm our observation, if we look at the field, now here you can see, now the indicator, we will wait till it settles down. It points towards the north. When we bring it to this point, now here you can see it going this way. And when we bring it to this point somewhere here, it is pointing to this direction. Then if I bring it to this point, now here you can see the pointer pointing towards this direction. And here again, it points towards the south pole of the magnet. The same way on this side, we need to wait until it settles down. So here you can see the pointer points in this direction. Then if we bring it here, you can see the pointer pointing towards this direction. So again if we bring it, now here you can see it points towards the south. So that is how the magnetic field of a bar magnet is. Now after this we will observe the magnetic field of a U magnet. So here I have the U magnet there. Again I'll draw the outline of a U magnet. So here we have the north and the south. Those are the main things that we need. So then if we are to observe the field here. So here if I bring it closer. You can see the pointer deflecting. So that means there is a magnetic field. So now if I hold the magnet here. Now for this, of course, because it is a U magnet, we will have to hold it over the magnet. Now I need to let it to settle down. The pointer has to settle down. Here you can see it comes from south to north. Now here you know this is the north end of the magnet. Here it is the south that settles down there. And this side north. So from north to south, the magnetic field. Even if I bring it here, but when we bring it near the U part, then of course it changes. But towards the arms, you can see it settles down this way. So from this, you can understand the field lines going like that. The field lines are going this way. So that is the north and south, the field lines are going that way. That is how the magnetic field is for a U magnet. Now we will compare both the magnetic fields. So here you can see, students, this is for the U magnet. You have the north to south. The field lines are in this direction, north to south. Now here also you can see the north of the magnet, south of the magnet like this. From here the field lines come out from the north pole. So and they go towards the south pole of the magnet. So here also you can see they move towards the south pole of magnet. So both magnets have the magnetic field lines. So it is a quantity that has a magnitude as well as a direction. You can see the direction of the magnetic field. So I am sure you all can understand that concept with this particular activity. Okay, students. So now I am going to do this activity in order to observe the magnetic field that is generated due to the current flowing through a conductor. So to do this activity, I have two dry cells here connected together. You all can see the terminals positive, negative, and the terminals have been connected to the conducting wire. So you can see here this is a copper conducting wire, or this is the copper conductor. And that is in turn connected to the switch here. You can see the switch is now open. So here you all can see clearly, students, I have connected the two crocodile clips and you can see the terminals of the batteries. At the moment you can see, students, here it is the positive charge, here it is the negative charge. So you all know the current flows from positive terminal to the negative terminal through the external circuit. So it will start from here, go through the switch, then through the conductor from my right side to left side, and then back to the dry cells. That is how the current is going to flow. So here, students, we are going to change the direction of the current, and accordingly we will be looking at the deflection of the compass. So now if you look at the compass, you can see here it is at a balance. Now the pointer points this way from north to south. This side is the north and south. Now even if I place the compass under the conductor and allow it to settle, for the pointer to settle down, you can see there is no deflection. Why? Because there is no current flowing through the conductor. If you all compare this activity with the activity, the diagram given in your textbook, you all can remember the terminal, positive terminal is connected to the A end of the conductor. So we can consider this as the A end of the conductor and that as the B end of the conductor. So it is up to us, students. The way we connect, we can label the conductor, ends of the conductor. Anyway, we will have to change the terminals of the battery. So if we first look at the compass here, now there is no current flowing because the switch is open. You can see the indicator, the point of the compass has settled down. There is no deflection. But if I close the switch, you have to observe the compass clearly. Now look at the pointer. You can see there is a deflection. If you consider the direction of the current flow this way, there is a deflection in the counterclockwise direction. The pointer moves this way. So it is a counterclockwise deflection. So that is one observation you have to remember. The pointer deflected in the anti-clockwise or counterclockwise direction. Now what I will do is, I will open the switch and then I will change the terminals of the battery. Now here, I have changed the terminals of the battery. This is the positive terminal, this is the negative terminal. So the current will now start from the positive terminal, flow this way. I said this is the end A, end B. From B to A, current will flow from B to A. We have changed the direction of the current now. Now look at the compass when I close the switch. So now you can see again the pointer is at equilibrium. Now when I close the switch, what happens to the pointer? It has moved this way. So that is the clockwise direction. So there is the deflection in the clockwise direction. Now can you all understand the difference? Now the current flow is this way from B to A, or you can look at the clips, black clip to red clip. There is a deflection in the clockwise direction. Earlier the current flow was from red to black. So there the deflection was in the anti-clockwise direction. So you can understand when we change the direction of the current, the deflection of the compass, the pointer changes. So that means the deflection is due to the magnetic field that has been generated. That is why there is a deflection. So the direction of the magnetic field depends on the direction of the current flow. To confirm this further, what we will do is, I'll open the switch again. While I keep the batteries this way, what I will do is, I will bring the compass above the conductor. Now earlier in both instances the compass was below the conductor. Now we will bring it above the conductor. Now you can see. Now can you see the deflection? It has rotated in the anti-clockwise direction. Above it is in the anti-clockwise direction. Below, if I place it below, you can see again it goes in the clockwise direction. So the direction of the current is the same. Direction of the current is the same from positive to negative terminal this way. When the compass is below, it is a clockwise rotation. But if I bring the compass above the conductor, you can see it is an anti-clockwise rotation. So there what happens? We say change the position of the compass. Why does the compass deflect? Because of the magnetic field. So the magnetic field above and below the conductor, the direction is different. The same way, I will again change the batteries, the terminals of the batteries. So here, again I have changed the terminals. This is the positive terminal, negative terminal. So now the current flow is going to be this way. Now observe the compass, no change. When I close the switch, again you can see it is an anti-clockwise rotation. But if I bring the compass above, now can you all see? It is a clockwise rotation. So below the conductor, it is an anti-clockwise rotation. Above the conductor, it is a clockwise rotation. So that is what you need to observe. So we have a conductor here. We pass electricity through that. Because of this current, there is a magnetic field generated. And this magnetic field depends on the direction of the current, whether it's from this side to this side or red to black. And also, the direction of the magnetic field is different below and above the conductor. That is what you need to understand from this activity. Okay, students. I'm going to do this activity in order to observe the direction of the magnetic field when a current flows through a straight conductor. So there are two ways in which you can identify the direction. One is known as the Maxwell corkscrew rule. The other one is known as the right hand grip rule. So first I'll explain to you all the Maxwell corkscrew rule. So you're familiar with the corkscrew, students. We use it to open the cork of a bottle. Similar to that, all the screws normally function the same way. They rotate the same way. So similar to that, I have a G-clamp here with a screw there. So this is the screw that we are going to use in order to observe the direction of the magnetic field. So what you need to do is you have to consider this tip, the direction of the movement of the tip. Say if it moves from here to here, that is the direction of the current flow. Now, if the tip moves from here to backwards, that will be the direction of the current flow. So, you have to always look at the tip. So, what we will do is we will rotate the screw so that it moves in one direction. Now, if you look at it carefully, when I rotate it this way, in the clockwise direction, what is happening to the screw? Now you saw the screw was here, it has come up to this point. Again look closely. So the screw came from here to here. That is the direction of the tip of the screw movement. So that is the direction of the current flow. So if this was a conductor, current flows from here to here, from this end to this end, then the magnetic field is in the direction of the rotation. I will bring it back and explain it to you all again. Now here the movement of the tip is the direction of the current flow. So it's going to go from here to here, from my right to the left side. So at the same time, I'm going to rotate the screw in the clockwise direction. So that is the direction of the current flow. Can you all understand that? So that is the Maxwell corkscrew rule. We will try to understand this with the direction of magnetic field when the current flows through a conductor. Now here students, you can see like how I have connected the batteries. This is the circuit I used for the previous activity also to observe the magnetic field around a conductor through which current flows. So in this you can see this is the positive terminal. So when the switch is closed, current will flow this way from this red clip towards the black clip. Just look at the colors, it's easy for you all to understand, from the red clip to the black clip. So same as this clamp, like I did from here to here. So from this side to this side is the direction of the current flow. So at that time you can remember I rotated the screw this way, clockwise direction. Let's observe how the pointer of the compass deflects when I close the switch. So observe the pointer of the compass when I close the switch. Now when I close the switch, you can see the pointer deflects this way. That means the magnetic field is from there to here. It is in this direction. It is a clockwise rotation. So here you can see if we rotate it clockwise, the circle is going to be from this side to that side and below from there to here. So that is why the pointer moves this way. Can you all understand that? Now the current is flowing this way, magnetic field is around that. So when we have the compass below, the magnetic field is going to be in this direction. Like I rotate this way. So it's going to move like this. So the pointer points to this direction. It deflects in the anti-clockwise direction. That is how the effect of magnetic field or direction of magnetic field is around a conductor. Now, if we change the direction of the current flow, for that I will change the clamp and also I'll open the switch and I'll change the batteries. Now here you can see this is the positive terminal. So current flows here, and in the conductor, current will flow from black color to red color end, from this end to this end. Then if you can remember, first we will look at the compass. If I close the switch, you can see the pointer deflects in the clockwise direction. So there. Here we have the corkscrew. This is the tip of the corkscrew. So that's going to move in this direction. And at that time, now how do we rotate this? The tip has to move from here to here, this side to this side. So I will have to rotate it this way, in an clockwise direction this way. But at the point, you have to see how this part moves below the conductor. Below the conductor, it goes like that. From here to there. From here to there. So the point also moved that way. Can you all understand that? So that is how the magnetic field will be. If we rotate it this way. Rotating it in this direction. So below the conductor, the deflection is towards that side. That is how we identify the magnetic field. So here, of course, it is going to be this direction. It's going to be a clockwise direction like this. So that is how we identify the direction of the magnetic field using the Maxwell corkscrew rule. Okay, students. So now I am going to do this activity in order to observe how we can use the right hand grip rule in order to identify the direction of the magnetic field due to a current flowing through a straight conductor. So in the previous activity, we observed the corkscrew rule. So here I am going to use the right hand grip rule. So to explain that, I am going to use this pencil here. Now if you look at the pencil, look at the tip of the pencil. Now this tip is the direction of the current flow. So what we need to do is we need to use our right hand and we have to place the thumb in the direction of the current flow. So here the current is flowing this way towards the tip. I have to place the thumb towards the tip of the pencil and I have to fold my other fingers like this. So now the direction of the fingers is the direction of the magnetic field. Current is flowing this way. This is the direction of the magnetic field. That is how we use the right hand grip rule. So let's say if the current is flowing in the opposite direction. Now the current is going from here to here towards the tip of the pencil. So again you have to place the thumb towards the tip of the pencil and you have to fold your fingers. Now can you see? The direction of the magnetic field is opposite. Now it is like a clockwise direction when the current flows this way. If the current flows that way, the direction changes. Now it becomes this way. The direction of these fingers. That is how we identify the direction of the magnetic field. Now we will look at this using the conductor as well. The same setup I used for the previous activities. So as you can see, I have connected the terminals of the battery. You can see positive terminal, negative terminal. So from the positive terminal through the external circuit, current will flow this way. So in this conductor, the current is going to flow from the red color clip towards the black color clip. So if you are to place the pencil, how do we place it? This way. Why? This is the direction of the current flow, so it's going to be this way. So if we hold the thumb like that, it has to go this way. So if it is this conductor, the magnetic field has to be in this direction. Current is flowing that way. Magnetic field below the conductor will be from this side to this side, like my fingers. It's going to be like that. Let's compare it with the observation. So if I close the switch, now can you see? The pointer deflects in this direction. So the fingers are towards this direction. So that is how we compare. Look at my fingers and the deflection of the point. They are in the same direction. So that is the direction of the magnetic field below the conductor. So if this is going to be the conductor, you have to hold it, grip it this way. So around the conductor, this is how the magnetic field will work. Is that clear, student? So then what will happen if we change the terminals of the battery? Let's see. I'll open the switch. I'll change the terminals of the battery. Now here you can see this is the positive terminal, this is the negative terminal. So current will flow in this direction. We need to place the pencil. Like I said, the tip is the direction of the current. Always you have to use the right hand. So if it is going to be like that, you place the thumb towards the direction of the current, fold your fingers, direction of the fingers, how the fingers point is the direction of the magnetic field. So it's going to be like this. So if this is the conductor, the magnetic field will be that way. So below since the compass is below, fingers are going from this side to this side. It's towards you. So above the conductor, it's going to come towards me. That's how the grip rule works. It's going to be like that. So let's observe it with the current flow. When I close the switch, now can you all see? The deflector points, rotates towards that way, clockwise rotation. So if it is the grip rule, fingers go that way and above they come towards me. So that is why the pointer deflects in that direction. Is that clear to you? So this is how we use the right hand grip rule. Always use your right hand. Thumb should point towards the direction of the current, and when you fold your fingers, they show the direction of the magnetic field. Okay, students. So now I am going to do this activity in order to observe whether a force acts on a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field. So to do this activity, I have all these materials connected as a circuit. Now here you can see these are two dry cells connected together. You can see this is the positive terminal of the dry cell and here it is the negative terminal of the dry cell. So positive, negative. So if we close the switch, now here you can see I have connected a switch, but at the moment the switch is open. So then I have this setup here where I have the magnet. It is in the shape of a U magnet. Here of course it is a magnet where we have the north pole on top and the south pole at the bottom. For you all to identify it easily, I have used labels here. This is north and south at the bottom. Then here you can see this end where there are two rods connected, and this end of the rod, this first rod here, it is a conducting rod that is labeled as A, and the second rod, this end, I have labeled it as D. So this is a wooden frame that is used to connect the two rods. Then here you can see this is a brass conductor which I have labeled as B and C on top. So here you can see B and C. Now when I place it this way, the order will be A, B, C, D. So that is how we are going to use the setup. So as you can see, this is a conductor. I will place it in the magnetic, between the magnetic field. So the north pole, the south pole of the magnets, the two ends of the magnets, and here we have the conductor placed between the magnetic field, and when I close the switch, there will be a current flowing. So we are trying to observe whether there will be a force acting on a conductor through which a current flows, and the conductor has to be placed within a magnetic field. So here is the magnetic field, the conductor is there. When I close the switch, what will happen? from the positive terminal, current will flow this way to point A of this rod. And then since this conducting brass rod is in contact, from point B to point C of the brass rod, and then the fixed rod here from C to D here. Although the label is put in C there, you all have to remember, students, the contact point is here. So this is just for the identification purpose. I'm sure you all know that the current flows through the complete circuit. So the contact points are here, but just to identify the direction of the current flow, I have labeled the points A, B, C, D. So now since the positive terminal is here, from the positive terminal, current will flow from A to B. Then in this brass rod, the piece of brass rod, current flow will be from B to C. And then through this rod, C to D and back to the dry cell. So remember, the current flow will be A, B, C, D, that direction. And north is on top, south is below. So those are the things you have to remember. So when I close the switch, look at this brass conductor carefully. You have to observe whether it rotates or moves, or if it moves, to which direction. Whether it moves away from the magnet or towards into the magnet. Those are the things you have to observe, students. So I'll place the rod properly. So now I'm going to close the switch. Observe what happened. Did you all see? I will repeat it again. Bringing the rod back to the initial position. I'll close the switch. Now can you see? I'll just rotate it so that you can see the letters at the position. Now A, B, C, D, still it is the same. Earlier the rod was here. Now it has moved away from the magnet. Once more I will do that. Again I am going to repeat it. So here you can see current flow A, B, C, D, north on top, south below. When we close the switch, the rod moves away from the magnet. That is the observation you have to remember. Now, why does this rod move away from the magnet? Now, when there is a rod, it is at rest. There is no force acting on it. When there is a force acting on it, it moves. So, where did that force come from? Now, we said there is magnetic field. The current, when we close the switch, current flows through the conductor. Because of that, there is a force generated. Due to the force, the rod moves away from the magnet. So, you have to remember, students, there is a force generated when there is a conductor placed between a magnetic field, and when the current flows through it, there will be a force generated. That is one observation you have to understand. And also, you have to remember, now at this point, when the current flows from A, B, C, D direction and the north and south poles are like this, the rod moved away from the U magnet. Now again I'll place the rod back the same way, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the terminals of the battery. We will see whether the rod moves in the same manner or not. So I'm going to change the terminals of the battery. Now here this is positive, this is negative. So current will start from positive terminal, flows through the external circuit. So D, C, D, C, B, A. I have not changed the magnet. So the current flow is going to be D, C, B, A. Now let's observe what happens when we close the switch. Now see what happened there. Can you all see what happened there? Again, I'll repeat the procedure. So here you have to remember, students, the current flows from D, C, B, A. You can see the labels here. So when I close the switch, the rod moves and it goes towards the U magnet. Now we change the terminals of the battery. The BC rod goes towards the magnet. So what can you understand from there? There is a force acting on a conductor through which a current flows and the conductor is placed in a magnetic field. And the direction of the force depends on the direction of the current flow. So that is what you can understand from this observation. Direction of the force depends on the direction of the current flow. So that is one part of the activity. Next, what I will do is, I will change the magnet. We will have the south pole on top, the north pole at the bottom, and we will repeat the procedure again. Okay, students. So now the changes I have done, again I have brought the terminals back. This is the positive terminal. This is the negative terminal. So when I close the switch, the current will flow this way, A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. That is the direction of the current flow. And in the brass rod, current will flow from B to C. But the difference is the south pole, the south end of the magnet is on top and the north end of the magnet is at the bottom. So I have changed the direction of the magnetic field. Current is the same as the first step, but the direction of the magnetic field has been changed. So we will see whether that has an effect on the direction of the force. So now I am going to close the switch. Can you see what happens here? Current flows from A, B, C, D. South is on top, north is at the bottom. The rod moved towards the magnet. Again, we will repeat that procedure. If I close the switch, the rod moves towards the magnet. You all can understand that. So, you can remember, students, the first time I did the activity, the same current flow A, B, C, D, we had the different poles. Now, here south pole is on top, north pole is at the bottom. So, now the rod moved towards the magnet. Earlier, when the north pole was on top and the south pole was at the bottom, the rod moved away from the magnet. So, here you can see the rod moves towards the magnet. I am sure you can understand that. So, from this, what can you all understand, students? Now, from this observation, we have changed the direction of the magnet. So, that means the direction of the magnetic field has changed. And therefore, the direction of the movement changed. So, that means the direction of the force changes. So, from that, you have to understand the direction of the force that is induced due to the current flowing through a conductor placed across a magnetic field depends on the direction of the magnetic field. So, that is the other conclusion we can obtain from this activity. In addition to that, we have already seen that when we change the terminals, when the direction of the current flow changes also, the direction of the movement changes. So, again, I will change the terminals of the battery. So, now here you have to see, students, the positive terminal is here. So, when I close the switch, current will flow from here, D, then C to B in the brass conductor, then B to A and back to the dry cell. So, the direction of the current flow is going to be D, C, B, A, and you have to note that the south end of the magnet is on top, north end of the magnet is below. So, now we will see what happens to the conductor, that is this brass conductor CB, when I close the switch. Can you see what happens there? Again, I will repeat it. When I close the switch. So, what happens there? The rod moves away from the magnet. So, we change the terminals of the batteries. So, the direction of the current flow changed. The direction of the movement change. So that means the direction of the force that causes the movement depends on the direction of the current flow. So those are the things you have to remember, students. Now we did this activity. Initially you were able to understand that when we place a conductor across a magnetic field and if we pass electricity current through that, there will be a force generated. That is why the rod moves. And this particular force, the direction of the force depends on the direction of the current flow as well as the direction of the magnetic field. So those are the things you all have to understand, students. Okay, students. So as I told you all, I am going to explain the Fleming's left-hand rule using the activity, the setup that we used for the activity before. So now you all know the Fleming's left-hand rule. Why do we use it? To find the direction of the force acting on a conductor placed in a magnetic field. So you have to use your left hand, the first three fingers, that is your thumb, first finger and the middle finger, they have to be perpendicular to each other. And you all know the second finger. This finger points to the direction of the current and the first finger or the index finger points to the direction of the magnetic field and the thumb points the direction of the force. So if we know the direction of the current flow and the magnetic field, we can identify the direction of the force. We will try to understand that with the movement of this conductor, that is BC conductor. So you are familiar with this activity, students. We did it before also. Now here you can see I have the dry cells here. The positive and the negative terminals are marked. So you all know. From the positive terminal, when I close the switch, current will flow into A. Then when we have the conductor, that is the brass conductor here, BC, A to B, B to C, C to D. And back to the dry cell. That is how the current will flow. So in this part, A, B, C, D will be the direction of the current flow. And during that time, if you look at the conductor here, this brass conductor, current will flow from B to C. At the same time, you can see the magnets. Now the north is on top, south is at the bottom. So the direction of the magnetic field is going to be from top to bottom, north to south. So we can use the Fleming's left-hand rule. So field is the index finger, that is going to be from north to south. And the current flow will be from B to C. So it has to be towards y'all. B to C, it will be towards y'all. So what is the direction in which the thumb points? It is this side. So that's going to be from here to here. So we will try to understand that with the observation. Now if I close the switch with the conductor here, now when I close the switch, you saw that the brass conductor moves away from the magnet. So that is what we obtained from the Fleming's left-hand rule. Again to observe. Now I'll have the conductor here. The index finger is the direction of the magnetic field. Current is going to flow from B to C by A, B, C, D. So in the conductor, it is going to be from B to C. So if I have the setup this way, you will have to, if you are trying this out, students, you have to use your left hand and according to the current flow here, you have to hold the fingers. Then only you will get the correct direction. Now for me, field is downwards, current flow is towards y'all or away from me. So therefore, the motion is this way. So if we try that again, the motion has to be in this direction. Here you can see. The conductor moved away from the magnet. So now, what I will do is, we will change the terminals of the battery and observe what happens. Because you all know here the direction of the force depends on the direction of the current flow and the direction of the magnetic field. So I am going to change the terminals of the battery. So now what will happen? The current will flow from positive to D, then to C, B, A, and back to the dry cells when the switch is closed. So if you apply the left-hand rule, Fleming's left-hand rule, still the magnetic field is downwards, north to south. So it's going to be down. Now here the conductor, the current will flow from C to D. So that's going to be towards me. If it is towards me, the thumb points in this direction. Thumb points in this direction. So what should happen? If I close the switch, can you all see? I'll repeat it again. I'll repeat this again. Now you can see thumb points towards the magnet. So if we look at the direction, now what will happen? It goes towards the magnet, this direction. So you saw the motion. Again to observe once more. Can you all see? So the magnetic field is downwards. Here the current flow is from C to B. So it's towards me. And the thumb points towards this direction. And the conductor moves towards this direction, towards the magnet. Can you all understand that now? The same way, students, we can change the poles of the magnet and we can do the activity again. So here again, I have the terminals of the battery. This is the positive terminal. So current will flow this way when the switch is closed to A, B, C, D and back to the negative terminal. So here you can see, students, the south end of the magnet is on top, north end of the magnet is at the bottom. So the magnetic field has been changed. So what will happen to the direction of the force? I am sure you all can find it out first. What do? We need to use the Fleming's left-hand rule. So the magnetic field is the index finger. That is upwards. Now the current flow is going to be towards you all. It's going to be from B to C in this direction. So the direction of the force has to be towards the magnet in this direction, direction of the thumb. Let's see whether that happens. So I have the conductor there. Current flow is from B to C towards you all in this. So when we close the switch, the conductor moves towards the magnet. So according to the Fleming's rule, you have to have the fingers perpendicular to each other. Field is the index finger upwards and the current this way. So the thumb points in that direction. If we observe it with that, here you can see the direction of the movement. It moves towards this side, towards the direction of the thumb. So then, the last change, I will change the terminals of the battery. So now here, this is the positive terminal. So current flows this way, D, C, B, A. D, C, B, A. So in the conductor, the brass conductor, current flow is from C to B. So what will be the direction of the force? Now again, you all know you need to have the fingers perpendicular. The index finger is the direction of the field. So that is upwards, north to south. And the current is going to be towards me. From C to B, it's going to be towards me. So where does the thumb point? Away from the magnet. We will observe that. The conductor moves away from the magnet. So again, to confirm, the field is the index finger. Current is the second finger. So that is from C to B. It has to be this way. And the direction of the motion has to be this way. So can you all see that? That is how we use the Fleming's left-hand rule. So you have to remember, students, you have to use your left hand, the thumb, index finger and the middle finger. They have to be perpendicular to each other. The middle finger is the direction of the current flow. First finger or the index finger is the direction of the magnetic field and the thumb points to the direction of the force. Okay, students. So now I'm going to do this activity in order to understand how we can construct a DC motor. DC means direct current. When you supply direct current, how the motor works. So to understand that, we are going to do this activity. For that, we need certain materials. Now already I have made part of the setup. So here you can see, students, I have a dry cell, a normal dry cell. And then you can see here on either side, I have used safety pins. Now, according to the activity, we are supposed to use a needle with a large hole like this. But the problem is, students, this hole is not enough. It's not wide enough for this coil to rotate freely. So, because of that, what I have done is I have used the safety pin. So, you can compare and see this is a very tiny hole, whereas this has a larger hole. So, it allows the coil, the conducting wire to rotate more freely. So, that is the reason why I have used the safety pins. And you can see with clips, I have connected it to the batteries, the two terminals of the batteries. And also, I have already attached the magnet. So, this is part of the setup that we need to have for the activity. So, in addition to these, students, we need a conducting wire, which we have to make a coil from a conducting wire. So, this is a conducting wire, that is an insulated conducting wire. So, what we need to do is we need to make a coil using this conducting wire. This is an insulated wire. So, what I am going to do is I am going to use this dry cell so that I can get that particular circle. So, here we need to make turns like a coil. We have to wrap the conducting wire around it, and then we need to take it out together like that. And then what we do is we need to put it through the coil and rotate it so that the coil does not come off. The same way from the other side also, we need to rotate it around the coil so that it doesn't come off. So, this is how we make a coil. But you all know, students, this is an insulated conducting wire. So, what we need to do is we need to remove part of the insulation from only half part of the conducting wire. So, here I will need to remove the insulation from the top of this wire, but not from the bottom. The same way I have to remove from the top of this, but not from the bottom. So, we can scrape it off like this. We can scrape off the insulation, scrape off the insulation. Now, here you might be able to see the difference, students. This part is insulated, but this side I have removed the insulation only from half of the wire and also from the ends only. Then what we need to do is we need to insert this into the two holes or the eyes of the needles. To do that, what I am going to do is I am going to use another conducting wire, the conducting wire coil that I have already prepared. So, both are same. This is another conducting wire coil that I have already prepared. In this also, I have removed the insulation from the two ends and there are many coils. So, this is what I am going to use for the activity. So, now I am going to put this wire coil inside into this So, here we have to observe. If it doesn't move, we might have to give a slight push. Now you can see it's starting to rotate. Now here you can see students, earlier it was oscillating, kind of moving in both directions. Now you can see it rotating continuously. So here you can understand students, from this battery, the dry cell, there is the current supply and also there is the magnetic field from the magnets. Now I am holding my fingers to make sure that the coil doesn't come off the two needles. So here you can see continuously it's rotating. So when there is a magnetic field and a conductor is placed across the magnetic field, and when you supply current, you can see there is a force acting on it, and due to the force, the conducting coil rotates. So this is how a direct current motor works. You all are familiar with the Fleming's left hand rule also. When there is a magnetic field and current is flowing through a conductor placed in the magnetic field, there is a force acting, and that force makes this coil to rotate. So here you all can see clearly students, the rotation of the coil, continuously it is rotating. So here you can see students, continuously the coil is rotating. So when you supply direct current to a motor and there are permanent magnets in the motor, there is the coil, a conducting coil. We will discuss that in a little while. So that particular coil will rotate, and that is how a direct current motor works. So I am sure you all can understand how we make the direct current motor to work by looking at this activity. Okay students, so like I told you all, I will show you the parts of the motor. First it is the armature. Now here I have different parts that I have removed from different motors. So the first one, here you can see students, in this part of the motor. Now this we will be discussing as the magnets. Can you see the silver color covering here? It is not a complete circuit. Here you can see it is split. Here also again you can see it is split, not a full circular covering. Again here you can see it is split. So that is actually the magnet that we will be discussing after this. Inside the magnet, now can you see these copper wires? The copper wire, it is coiled around a soft iron core. That is what we call as the armature. Can you all see these copper wires nicely coiled in this direction also? You can see here. You all can see the copper wires coiled. That is the armature. The copper wire coil around a soft iron core is what we call as an armature. So there is another motor here. In this also, here you can see, like I showed you all, these are the magnets. These are the magnets. Here you can see this copper color, the wire coiled, that is the armature. So that is one part of the motor. So then the magnets. Now these are magnets that are in circular shape, but it is not a continuous circle. It is not a continuous ring magnet, but parts like this in the shape in a circular shape. So here you can see it is a magnet. So here in this motor students, you can see this is the magnet that is around the armature. So I showed you all, this is the armature here, the copper color wire, around that is the magnet. So inside it has the magnetic field. In this also you can see this is the magnet, but it is not continuous. You can see the splits there. You can see it split there, not a continuous magnet. So with that one, no. So here you saw the magnet students. These are permanent magnets. So they are in the like a half circle shape. Those are the permanent magnets. That is another important part of a motor. So the next important part, like I told you all, is a commutator. Now here you can remember students, we already saw the magnet, then the armature there. Now if I remove this cover, you can see these two parts there, like the copper color parts. Those are actually connected to the carbon brushes. Those are the tiny parts you can see. Those are the brushes. Now, when we fix this into those brushes like that, you can see here there is a cover. In this motor you will be able to see better this brown color part. Those are the split rings. So you all know rings are normally continuous, but here they are split into two halves. So here if you really look closely at this part, or if you look at a very large motor, you will be able to see that there is a split here. So those are the two split rings, and when you fix that the same way, there are split rings here also. So if I fix it into this, the split rings will touch these brushes. So the split rings and the brushes together is known as the commutator. So we saw the different components, students. Now if you look at a normal motor, this is how we will have it. I showed you all this. Now here you can see this part. This is the axle. Now that is what is going to rotate outside, and let's say if you have a fan connected to that, the fan will rotate. So that is the axle. And here this is the cover of the motor. We can remove this part here. Now if you look closely there, we saw the brushes earlier. Those are the brushes, and this is a plastic cover. Then here you can see this again is the axle that is connected there. So this is inside. So here you will be able to see around it is the split rings. And then I can take this also out. So like I told you all, this is the cover. So here we have the split rings, and then this is the armature. This part is the armature and the magnets. The ring magnets, that is also not continuous. So those are the parts, students. Same way we can observe in this also. Now this again is a slightly larger motor. You can see the cover here. This is the axle, and if I take this out, the magnets are inside like that. So we can take it out. Here you can see the magnets, but I showed you all before the magnets. This is the cover. Again in this also you can see the same things. This is the axle. Then here you can see there is the split rings are there. And here you can see the armature, the copper color wire here, and the magnet around it. You can see the magnet is not continuous. You can see the armature on this, from this side you can see the armature more clearly. So those are the parts of the motor. I am sure you all can understand that, students. Okay, students. So now we will try to understand the operation of a DC motor, a direct current motor. So you all know direct current means always the current flows in the same direction. So this is a motor that operates with direct current. So to the motor, the current will flow only in one direction. So we will see how the motor works. Now I have made a model of this motor. I only have the parts that is necessary for you all to understand the function. So here I have made the armature. You all can see here, students. I will just show it to you all this way first. You can see A, B, C, D. I have labeled the different corners so that it will be easy for you all to understand the function. Then here you can see to the A and D sides, you have the two split rings attached. So here you can see to A, split ring X is attached, and to D, split ring Y is attached. So if I hold the armature this way, here you can see these are the magnets. You all know magnets are also split magnets. The pieces like semicircles. So here north and south ends of the magnets are shown here. And these two are the brushes. Now you all know the split rings with the brush, they will be in contact like that. Now the X split ring is now in contact with brush P. Split ring Y is in contact with brush Q. So these together, the split rings and the brushes together is what you call as the commutator. So these are the parts that we need to understand the function. Now assume that the current is flowing into the motor through brush P. Now you all know that also students, the brush P and brush Q, they are connected to the power supply. The positive terminal of the battery is connected to P. That means the current flows in through P. That is something you have to keep in mind. Current flows in through P. So initially, this is how the armature is going to be. So look at the way. P brush, then X split ring. From there, it will come to A, flows to B, then to C, D of armature, and then again split ring Y, Q, and the circuit will be completed. When this happens, you have to use your Fleming's left-hand rule to identify the direction of the motion of this armature, to understand how the armature will rotate. Now consider only this side. Now I have made this black in color, so you will easily see the difference. Now AB is white, CD I have made it black, so that easy for you to see it, observe it when it rotates. So here we will consider AB side or the conductor AB. From the power source to brush P, then split ring X, then from A to B. So the direction of the current flow is going to be from A to B. So how is it going to move? I will take it up and show you all. Now the field is going to be from north to south, current flow from A to B. So we use the left hand rule. The middle finger is going to be the direction of the current pointed towards me, A to B, and the field is going to be in this direction, north to south, north to south. So it's going to be this way. Then what will happen? Look at the direction of the thumb. That is going to move downwards. So this part AB has to move down. It has to go down. At the same time, you need to check C and D, this side also. Now the current that flows from B to C, C to D. So there what happens? The middle finger is for current towards y'all, and the field is also this way, north to south. The thumb points upwards. So this side will move up. So what happens? The armature will rotate like this until 180 degrees. Now can you all see? The AB side has come to this side, CD side is on this side. All this time, the two split rings are in contact with the brushes. But initially, you can remember students, the split ring X, earlier X was in contact with P and Y was in contact with Q. But now, after half a turn, the X is in contact with Q and Y is in contact with P. So there has been a 180 degrees rotation. Half a rotation has taken place. And also here you can see the DC side is on this side, AB side is on this side. So that is how the first half of the turn takes place. So once the armature rotates by 180 degrees, this is how you will see the setup. Now look at it carefully. Brush P is in contact with split ring Y, then D, C, B, A. Split ring X is in contact with brush Q. The north and south poles of the magnet, they are the same. So still the current is going to flow into P. Current will flow into P. So current flow will be from P to Y, then D, C, B, A, X and Q. You have to remember that. Current flows into P, then to Y, then to D, then to C, B, A, X and Q. The current flow direction does not change. North and south poles also the same. Like earlier, if you apply the Fleming's left hand rule, what will happen? Now for DC, the field is going to be this way, current is going to flow towards me. So the middle finger, current towards me, field is going to be in that direction. So because of that, CD, the thumb points downwards. The CD has to move downwards. At the same time, in this side, current will flow from B to A. So current flow is going to be towards y'all. Field is going to be this way. The thumb points upwards. So now BA has to move up. DC will move down. So it will again rotate like that. All the while, the two split rings will be in contact with the brushes. So now again it has come back to the earlier position. Recall what we discussed. Earlier also it was like this. This side had to move down. CD had to move up. So there was a 180-degree turn like that. Again DC had to move down. AB had to move up. So it rotates like this. It will be a continuous 180 degrees rotation. And here students, in the real motor, these will be always in contact with the split rings. This is for you all to understand how it works. So continuously current will flow and the armature will rotate in a clockwise direction. Like this, it will keep on rotating. Can you all understand that? So this is how a motor functions. A direct current motor, DC motor, the armature is the one that rotates. So to support the continuous rotation of the armature, we have these two split rings connected with the brushes. So that is the commutator. Brushes and the split rings together is the commutator, and that makes sure that the current flows in one direction without any disruption, and therefore the armature rotates in the clockwise direction. Like this, it is going to rotate in the clockwise direction. So with that students, I am sure you all can understand the function of a direct current motor. Okay students, so now I am going to do this activity in order to understand the electromagnetic induction. So to do that activity, here I have a magnet. Now you all can see the north and the south poles of the magnet. This is a bar magnet that I am going to use. Then here you all can see, now normally we can take a reel of a thread and around that we can coil the copper wire, insulated copper wire, but instead you can see here the copper wire has been already coiled. This is an apparatus made for this particular purpose. So here you can see the insulated copper wire coil, and here you can see there is space. So this again acts like a reel, and on this side also you can see it's a opening space through this so that we can insert the magnet this way. So it is similar to a reel, and we have the copper wire coil, and here you can see the connecting wires are connected to the center zero galvanometer. You all know why we use the center zero galvanometer. We can observe the deflection in both directions. So from there you can understand how the current flows, and also you can understand whether it is alternating current or direct current. That means whether the current flows in one direction or in two opposite directions. So that can be understood from this galvanometer, the center zero galvanometer. Then I have the table here, what is given in your textbook, how we are going to move the magnet or the coil or both together, and then we need to observe the galvanometer. So here you can see motion of the magnet, motion of the coil, and whether there is a deflection in the galvanometer or not. So here you don't need to really record in which direction the galvanometer deflects. You just need to see whether there is a deflection in the galvanometer or not. So first, if I take the magnet, you can see towards the coil. So I have to move the magnet towards the coil. While I do that, you all have to observe the galvanometer. So here I am going to move the magnet. First one, we need to move the magnet towards the coil. Then you all have to observe the galvanometer. Now can you see? When I push it in towards the coil, you can see there is a deflection. Observe clearly, students. When I am moving it in, there is a deflection. But when I keep it stationary, there is no deflection. When I bring it out, you can see there is a deflection in the opposite direction, and when it is outside, there is no deflection. So you have to note that. As the magnet cuts across through the coil, we are not cutting it across, but as it moves through the coil, you can see a deflection. Again, observe. As I move it towards, a deflection. If I hold it inside, no deflection. When I bring it out, again a deflection, but when I hold it outside, there is no deflection. So if we record that here. Now when I move the magnet towards the coil and the coil is stationary, I did not move the coil. What happens in the galvanometer? There is a deflection in the galvanometer. Now when I have it stationary near the coil is stationary, magnet was also stationary. There was no deflection in the galvanometer. And when I move the magnet away from the coil and the coil was stationary, then also you were able to see a deflection. So only when there was movement, either towards the coil or away from the coil, there was deflection. And the other thing you all were able to note, when I move it towards the coil, the deflection is in the negative direction. When I bring it out, the deflection is in the opposite direction. That's the positive direction. So depending on the direction of the movement, the deflection direction also changes. Those are the things you all need to observe. Then the next one, we need to hold the magnet stationary and I need to move the coil. Here you can see magnet has to be stationary, the coil has to be moved towards the magnet. Then again when the magnet is stationary, I will move the coil away from the magnet. So we will do that now. I'm going to hold the magnet, the coil I am going to move. Can you all see? As I moved it, there was a deflection. Now I am holding it, there's no deflection. When I pull the coil away, can you see? Again there was a deflection. When I move the coil in, there's deflection. When it is still, there is no deflection. When I pull the coil away from the magnet also, there is deflection. And you all can see the deflection occurs in opposite direction. Again, I'll repeat it. I am pushing the coil towards the magnet, holding it there, pulling it away from the magnet. Did you all see the deflection and the change in direction? I am sure you all did. So here, when the magnet is stationary and the coil is moved towards the magnet, there was deflection. Again, the magnet was stationary and the coil moved away from the magnet. There was deflection in the meter. Is that clear? Then, we move the magnet away from the coil. At the same time, the coil is also moved away from the magnet. So then what we do is we move both the magnet and the coil without changing the distance. So before that, what I will do is I will move both of them away from each other. Now if we have it like that if we move away. Now when it is close, you move both away, still you can see a deflection. Now it's close here, I'm moving both simultaneously, towards and away. Then also you can see there is deflection. So when the magnet is away from the coil and the coil is away from the magnet, there is deflection. But if we hold them at a distance, so even though the magnet and the coil are close to each other, still if you move them without changing the distance, then there is no deflection. So what can you understand there? The distance has to change. The magnet has to go through the coil or away from the coil. If the distance is the same, then there is no deflection. So here, there is no deflection. Then, we need to move the magnet rapidly towards the coil while the coil is stationary. So again, I'll keep it stationary. I will move this rapidly. Earlier, I just moved it slowly like that. Now, if we move it rapidly, can you see? With the rapid movement, you can see the deflection and you see the deflection is more. When I move it fast, the deflection is more. If I move it slowly, what can you see? So then, if we do it very slowly, what will happen? Can you see? There's a small deflection. When I pull it out also, there's a small deflection. Again, if we do it slowly, the amount of deflection is less. But if I do it fast, can you see that the deflection is more? So what can you understand there? When we move rapidly towards the coil, there is deflection, more deflection. But when I move the magnet slowly towards the coil, there is deflection but less. So from all these, what can you all understand, students? When the magnet and the coil are stationary, there is no deflection in the galvanometer. So deflection in the galvanometer means there is current flowing. Now a magnetic field, a copper wire coil. And when there is a movement in the magnetic field, when we move the magnet, there is a movement or there is a difference, variation in the magnetic field. When there is a variation in the magnetic field, there is a current flowing. And when the variation is high, when I move the magnet faster, the current is more. When the variation is less, that is when I move the magnet slowly, the current is less. And also you can see, depending on the direction of the movement, the current is flowing in opposite directions. So here you all were able to understand, students, when I move the magnet towards the coil, deflection is in one direction. When I move it away from the coil, the deflection is in another direction. The same goes for the coil also. When the magnet is stationary but the coil moves, there also you see the deflection. I will repeat it once more just for you all to observe it and then you can understand clearly. When I move it towards, there is deflection. But if we hold it inside, no deflection. When I pull it out, there is a deflection in the opposite direction. When I hold them still, there is no deflection. Same goes for the coil also. If I bring the coil, there is deflection. When I am holding it, no deflection. Move the coil away, there is deflection. And if I do it fast, the deflection is more. So those are the observations you all need to understand from this activity. So here, using a magnetic field, we are inducing a current. And that is what you call as electromagnetic induction. Okay, students. So now we will observe how a bicycle dynamo functions. So you all know bicycle dynamo is an application of electromagnetic induction. Due to an induced electromotive force, there is electricity that is induced due to the movement of a coil within a magnetic field. So that is how a dynamo functions, and you all know the bicycle dynamo is somewhat different. The reason is, here in a bicycle dynamo, the coil is stationary but the magnet rotates. So either way there is induced electric current. So due to the induced electromotive force. So here, if we look at this dynamo, here you can see this is the bicycle dynamo that is shown here, and here you can see the head of the bicycle dynamo. So here you can see this is not a smooth surface. There are ridges like structures. It is a rough head. So if you assume this to be the wheel of the bicycle, normally when you ride a bicycle, the wheel moves. So this head of the dynamo is in contact with the wheel, and because of that, the dynamo, the head starts to rotate. So because of that, there is a connection. Now with this head inside the dynamo, there is a magnet connected to it, and when this rotates, the magnet also rotates. So because of that, there is electricity induced, electromagnetic induction. So we will see how that happens. Now if I rotate this, here there is a light bulb. You all have to observe that closely, observe it clearly. So if I rotate it, you don't see any change. Now can you see there was a blink of a light. Now you can see the light coming on, and when I keep on increasing the speed, observe what happens. You see the light almost like continuous. So this is what happens. In a dynamo, the current that is generated is an alternating current. So that is why when I rotate the wheel slowly, you see the bulb blinking on and off, because it is an alternating current. Whenever the current flows through the bulb, it comes on, then off. But when I increase the speed, the amount of electromotive force generated increases. Because of that, the induced current also increases. Therefore, it looks as if the light is lit continuously. The brightness of the bulb increases, and also it looks as if it's lit continuously. We will observe that again. So here you can see when I rotate it slowly, you can see the blinking. But when I increase the speed, still you can observe the blinking, but the brightness is more. So that is how a bicycle dynamo functions. So in the bicycle dynamo, the electricity or the current that is produced, induced, is an alternating current. That is what you have to keep in mind, students. Okay, students. So now we will do this activity in order to understand the difference between direct current and alternating current. So to do that activity, I have this bicycle dynamo here. Already I have shown you all the function of a bicycle dynamo. You all know there is electromagnetic induction taking place, and due to that, a current is being induced. And you all know that the current is alternating current. In an alternating current, the direction of the current varies with time. So that is a bicycle dynamo. On this side, I have a dry cell. So from a dry cell, we get direct current. Direct current means the direction of the current does not vary with time. So we will try to observe both and understand how they are or what they are. So students, now we will connect the terminals of the battery. Now here you can see this is the negative terminal. I will connect that to the negative terminal of the galvanometer, and the positive terminal of the battery I will be connecting to the positive terminal of the galvanometer. So here you can see the pointer deflected and it shows just a reading. Now here of course, because this gives a large current, it is more than the reading, more than 3 amperes, but the pointer deflects only in one direction. That means the direction of the current does not change. If the direction of the current does not change with time, then it is a direct current. So the battery produces or generates direct current. That is what you need to understand from here. Now again, if I remove it and if I put it here, you can see, students, if the contact is less, you can see the reading. So I'm going to connect it again. So here you can see, students, from 0, the pointer deflected only to one direction. So you all can understand that concept. The current flows only in one direction. So the current generated by a dry cell, a battery, is a direct current. Now in comparison to this, the dynamo produces alternate current. We will try to observe that now. And now here I have the bicycle dynamo. Like we did before, you all know, when we rotate this wheel, here also you can see the light come on. So you know there is electricity being generated, current being generated. So I am going to connect the bicycle dynamo to the galvanometer. And then when I rotate the wheel, you all have to look at the galvanometer. You have to observe it for some time. You have to observe it clearly. So when I rotate the wheel, you all have to observe the galvanometer. Can you see what happens there? Look at the pointer. What happens to the pointer? It deflects in both directions. So when the current is flowing in one direction, it goes to one, deflection is towards one side of the 0. Other direction, deflection is towards the other side. So if I do it again, you all can observe it clearly. Now here you can see the pointer deflects, indicator deflects to both the directions. So that means the direction of the current is changing. So that is how the alternate current is. So the bicycle dynamo generates alternate current. The direction of the current that varies with time is known as alternate current. Whereas a dry cell, it generates direct current. In a direct current, the direction of the current does not vary with time. So those are the two types of current. Okay, students. So like I told you all, I want to show you all a transformer. Now this is a model of a transformer. You can see here, now there is a wire. Initially there is a wire. Now this is to plug in the transformer to our household or the laboratory power supply. And you all know, normally to the household, what is the power supply that we get? We get an alternate current with a frequency of 50 Hz and the voltage is 230 volts. Now look at the wire. Now this wire is connected to this transformer here. Can you see this part? So this particular yellow color box, what you see as the yellow color box, is the input coil, or what we call as the primary coil. So we supply the voltage to the input coil. Then what we have on top is the secondary coil or the output coil. So if we want to reduce the voltage, can you read it here? It says 6 volts. So when you supply an input voltage of 230 volts, you can get 6 volts as the output voltage. So what type of a transformer is this? We are reducing the voltage. So it's going to be a step down transformer. So you have two coils. One is the primary coil. The other one is the secondary coil. Now here you can see there are two terminals. If you connect the terminals of a device to these 2 points, you can get the current. You can get the required voltage. Here it's going to be 6 volts and you can operate that particular device. So that's how the transformer works. Now just to have a look at what is inside the transformer, we can remove this and open this part. I can take this off. And we can remove this. Here if I remove the coil, I can show you all how the coil is inside. I can remove the casing. Can you see here? Now this wire is available in different thicknesses and also the different number of turns. So based on that, you all know if we need to reduce the voltage, step down transformer, we need to have more coils in the primary coil or the input coil and less number of turns in the output or the secondary coil. So this is how you get the coils there. Is that okay? So that is the secondary coil that I have taken out. You can see the coils here. The same way, now this is for 6 volts, like I told you all 6 volts. Here you can see it is for 6 volts. Then here we have another one for 12 volts. Now here also if I remove this, you can see the coil there. This coil and this coil you can see are somewhat different. So that means depending on how the coil is, you can get different output voltages. So we send the current through this wire, input voltage, and from one of these we can get the output voltage. And since the voltage is being reduced, this will function as the step down transformer. So this is just for you all to understand how a transformer works. Okay, so that is a model of a transformer. Now I have told you in the previous one of the lessons also when we discuss electronics, we discussed that about power packs. Now you are familiar with power packs. Most of the electrical appliances, the devices, you get power packs. Inside the power pack also there is a transformer. Now I will show such one power pack to you all. So here you have seen these power packs at home. You all might have used it with different electrical appliances. You would have used it. This is a power pack. Here you can see AC to DC and also here they give all the specifications. How you will get the output current. So if we try to open this, now this is where you plug it in and the wire connection, everything is shown to you. Now I have already opened it. Here you can see. When we open it, here we have the circuit and this part. You all have to look at this. Now what is this? This is the transformer. Here can you all see the two coils. This is one coil, the red color one is the other coil. Here you all can see. Now this is where we are going to plug in the power pack. So now that from there the wires are connected to the red color coil. So electricity or current, the voltage will flow in to the red color coil. So what is that? That is the primary coil because current flows into this first primary coil. From there we will get the voltage here. So that is going to be the secondary coil. The blue color coil will be the secondary coil. So that is again connected to the wire here. You can see from here there is connection to the board and here you can see the connecting wires. Now this part will be inserted into the device. So here you can insert this into the device. So that's going to be the output voltage. So this part here is the transformer. And here you all can remember students, although we get 230 volt current, the current used by the device will be less voltage. So that is also going to be a step down transformer. So inside the power pack also we get the transformers. This is for you all to understand that or to know that there are transformers used in the power pack also. So with that students, we looked at the structure of a transformer and this is how you get a transformer in a power pack. I am sure you all can understand how a transformer helps us in our day-to-day activities. Okay students, so now I am going to do this activity in order to understand the function of a transformer. So to do the activity, I have all these materials here. I have already connected them in the correct order. So here you can see this is a galvanometer, a center zero galvanometer. So you all know we can look at the deflection. It can deflect this way or this way. So that shows the direction of the current flow. And here you can see the galvanometer is connected to this part. If you look at this, closely. Now these wires, those are soft iron wires. I have a bundle of soft iron wires here. And here you can see this side is connected to the copper wire here. This side is connected, and on this side the other copper wire is connected to a switch. And from the switch here you can see I have 4 dry cells. If we take 2 dry cells also it is okay, but in order to observe the deflection more clearly I have used 4 dry cells here. So then it is a complete circuit. And also I have this table that is given in your textbook. You can see here when we turn on the switch, when you keep the switch turned on continuously, when you turn off the switch, and also when you keep the switch turned off continuously. In all these instances, what we need to do is you need to observe the galvanometer. You have to observe it clearly and see whether there is a deflection in the galvanometer, and if there is a deflection, in which direction. Whether it's going in the clockwise direction or the anti-clockwise, that is positive or negative current. All that has to be observed clearly. So first what I will do is I will show you all what happens so that you can get the observation clearly, and then we will fill this table. Actually, when we say fill this table, all the terms are given to us. Galvanometer deflection deflects to the right or left. So you have to observe whether it's to the right or left, and then we have to cut off the unwanted word. We have to leave the correct word there. So first we will try it once. Now observe when I close the switch, observe the galvanometer. So now I'm going to do the activity. We will get this a little bit closer so that you all can observe the change. Now I have the switch and the galvanometer. You can see the coil is also here. So you have to observe what happens when I close the switch. So now I'm going to close the switch. Observe. Now did you all see a deflection there? I'll do it again. As I close the switch, you have to look at the galvanometer. As I close the switch. Did you all see a deflection there? Now again, if I repeat, you can see as I close, there is a deflection in the positive direction. But now I have the switch closed continuously. Is there any change? No. The galvanometer remains at 0. Let's open the switch now. What did you see there? I'll close it and open it again. When I open, you can see there is a deflection in the negative direction. As I open, there's a deflection. But now is there a change? No. So you can see clearly when we close the switch and open the switch. When I do that action, you can see a deflection in the galvanometer. So when I close, there's a deflection. There you see, when I close it, there was a deflection in the positive direction. Now when I open, there is a deflection in the negative direction. But if it remains closed or remains open, there is no deflection. That is what you all have to understand. So this is the observation that needs to be filled up in the table. If you look at it here, now when the switch is turned on, what happens to the galvanometer deflection? Now this side, I will take it as the right deflection. Now for you all also, this way is right. So deflects to the right. Deflects to the right. Then what happens? So that means there is a current flow in the second circuit from A to B. So the second conclusion, if you look at it, a current flows in the second circuit from A to B or B to A. If you compare this with your diagram, students, you all can see this side is A, this side is B in the diagram given in your textbook. So current flows from in this direction. So there we can take it as A to B. So I will cut the first part of B to A. So there is a deflection to the right and current flows from B to A. Then If I keep it turned on continuously, is there a deflection? No, there is no deflection. So that means current does not flow in through the coil. And when it is turned off, what happens? Deflects in the opposite direction. So earlier it was to the right this way, now it is to the left. To the left. And also a current flows or does not flow. Current flows in the opposite direction. So you were able to see that current flows from B to A. And turned off continuously, again there is no deflection and current does not flow. So those were the observations. I will repeat this again once more so you can observe it more clearly. Now the switch is turned off. So as you can see, all the components are connected together and you have to understand there is the soft iron cores. These are the soft iron wires and here it is the copper wire coils. And as I turn on the switch, now I will close the switch. You can see there was a deflection in the positive direction. And now when it is continuously turned on, there's no deflection. If we open it, there is deflection in the opposite direction. And when it is continuously turned off also, there is no deflection. So that is what you need to understand, students. So what happens here? Now we have the batteries, the dry cells here, that is connected to this wire coil. And when I close the switch, the circuit is complete, current flows through the copper wire. Due to the current flow, there is an electromagnetic induction taking place. A magnetic field is induced. Because of that magnetic field, there is a magnetic field induced in the second coil as well. So due to that, there will be an electromotive force that will generate an electricity flow through the second coil. So that is what we read in the galvanometer. Can you all understand that? So we are providing current through the first coil. Because of that, a magnetic field is induced and that generates a magnetic field in the second coil where there is electricity generated. So that is what we observe here, the current. And this depends on the change in magnetic field. That is why when you close, as you close the switch and as you open the switch, we see a deflection here. But when it is continuously, the current is flowing. There is no deflection. That is what you need to understand. So in a transformer, this is the function of a transformer. Now this is the coil where you give the input current. And this is the coil where you will be getting the output current. So you give a certain amount of input current and you will get a certain amount of output current. We will be transforming the current, either increasing the current or decreasing the current. So that is how a transformer functions.